The Zimbabweans are learners, and everybody
Yeah,
wants to
definitely.
learn, and they appreciate learning and education. So there was a lot of enthusiasm, and sadly, just not a lot of supply to be able to get access to free computers, access to the internet, access to the resources, the instruction, all of that for free.
How's the little princess
Yeah,
doing though?
she's doing great. She's doing great,
Yeah, keeping
despite
you
what you
busy.
might, despite what it might sound like. Yeah, man, she's definitely keeping
Well, the
us
thing
busy.
is, if they're crying and they're playing, that's when you know they're fine, isn't it? It's when they're, things are not happening and they're just there and they're sitting and you think, oh, okay, what's going on? Are
Right.
you okay? So if
Yeah, she
something is
doesn't like
happening,
to
then
sit,
everything is
man.
fine.
No, she doesn't
Mm,
really like to sit. She's just constantly running around and wants to
yeah,
read books and play with dolls and stuff. So she keeps us busy.
exploring. That's good,
Yeah.
man. That is good. That is good. All right, so we'll get started, and I'll try not to take too much of your time, so you can go back to the little princess. Right. So obviously, I was very interested in talking to you because you are an American who, at a very young age, decided to go to Zimbabwe. So when I was looking at your profile on LinkedIn, and you went and told the story about how you decided to go to Zimbabwe, I think the first time, and then you went back to America, then you went back again for the second time. So I want to try and understand what was your thinking behind this. I guess before we go into that, maybe if you could just introduce yourself a little bit, tell us who you are, what you do, and then maybe answer the question.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Peter Kazikis. I grew up in New York, in Long Island, New York. And at the age of 18, just having turned 18, I went to Zimbabwe for the first time. And my whole life has been about Zimbabwe since then. And geez, I'm about to be 33. I can't believe it. But my career has basically all been focused in or on Zimbabwe. I'm the founder and CEO of Uncommon.org, which is a nonprofit technology education organization that operates exclusively in Zimbabwe. Hopefully we'll expand soon, but Zim has been really our testing grounds and where we've proved the concept and spent a lot of time learning how to do this type of work with young people. And then on the side, I've recently started a startup called Pachena, which is also focused on Zimbabwe, but broadly speaking, the continent. And that's kind of in my mind, the logical evolution of my work at Uncommon, which has always been about empowering young people for the workforce. Pachena is about empowering people in the workforce. And I'm sure we'll get into all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm working on. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I went to Zimbabwe. I just turned 18. I wanted to go to Cape Town. So the story is that there was a guy from my town in Long Island that came to our elementary school. I was 7 or 8 years old, and he was talking about a nonprofit that he had started to teach basketball to kids, really to teach life skills through basketball. And I loved basketball, played it my whole life, and wanted to volunteer with his organization years later in Cape Town. So when I was finishing up my last year of high school, I just asked him, can I go and go to Cape Town and help your organization? And he said, yeah, sure, but go to Zimbabwe instead. And this was 2011. I really didn't have much of an idea of what to expect in Zimbabwe. I was traveling by myself. I had 2 giant duffel bags full of basketballs that my family and I had spent the previous couple of days just deflating. We bought all these basketballs. I had to raise money to go and support this organization and volunteer. So I had to raise a little bit of money, get some equipment, and bring it over with me. So we spent hours just deflating all these balls, cramming them like sardines into a bag, getting jerseys and shoes that my teammates had given me. And that was all I had, really, were those 2 big bags. I had a name of my host family, and I had a phone number. I don't think I had an iPhone, so I just had a number. Anyways, I realized that I didn't have much when I land at the airport, get outside, and nobody's there waiting for me. I have no idea. I don't even know what the person looks like. And thankfully, they showed up in an American school bus. I think it was the only American yellow school bus, a short bus that had been donated from the guy that ran this organization, got it over to Zimbabwe, and that's what the organization...
From America, they shipped it over to Zimbabwe. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I knew that was my ride because it just reminded me totally of home. In fact, that bus was probably from my elementary school, which is the same school that the guy that started the organization went to, and it was probably from there. So I may have even ridden in it as a kid. But so anyways, within like an hour or two of landing, we were staying in Milton Park. Within an hour or two, we're in DZ in Varsekwa playing basketball. So this is like my first time on African soil in Zimbabwe. Within a couple hours in DZ, the sun is setting. We're playing basketball, and sport is just such a great equalizer. Nothing matters once you're on the court or on the pitch. It's just about winning and playing with you and competing and having fun. And we had a great time. And within, the sun sets, we play until after dark, which was very difficult for me, but no one else seemed to have an issue with it. And then after that, we sat by the courts and we were telling stories and started drinking Castle. I had my first Castle that night, and then before long, 20 minutes later, we started passing around the Scud, and I had my first Chibuku that night. So you can imagine
That's
being
all on the same day, the first day you got into Zimbabwe.
First day, man. You can imagine I just turned 18. I just graduated high school. I'm alone on this grand adventure. I'm playing the sport that I love with people my age that I already love from day one. And now we're just laughing and telling stories and drinking Scud and just hanging out. So I was pretty hooked on Zimbabwe instantly. And I had an amazing few months volunteering, then went off to university. After my second year, went back to volunteer with the same organization. And again, had just an amazing experience. Just loved every second of my time in Zimbabwe. And then after university, I got into technology, got into the startup space, had an epic failure of a startup, and was sort of licking my wounds trying to figure out what should I do now. I think I was 22 or 23. I tried to bet on myself. It really didn't work. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know where I wanted to be, and that was Zimbabwe. And I think I was done with basketball at that time. I played through university. I think I wanted to do something else professionally, even though I love sports. I love working with kids. So I just had this idea, maybe I could try to teach coding and try to teach robotics. And that was the original idea, was let's design a program to teach coding to young kids in Zimbabwe. Really, for me, is my selfish a way to get back to Zimbabwe. So I got a job in New York City with an organization that did exactly that taught computer coding to kids at all the schools in Manhattan and Brooklyn. And I even told them in the interview, I just want to learn how you do this. They were a for-profit. I want to learn how you do this so I can try to start an equivalent styled organization in a place like Zimbabwe. And luckily, the person interviewing me had a Zimbabwean friend. So she was like, oh yeah, that's awesome, man. Totally. We'd love to support you with that. So I learned what I could. One of my best friends from high school and then my future wife joined me. They both quit their jobs, and the three of us, we raised a little bit of money, not much. We were teaching coding ourselves for the summer to save money, and we got 20 laptops donated, and that was it. We didn't have a plan. We had a curriculum. I had my old basketball buddies. We stayed with the same host family that I had gotten to know so well and had lived with prior, and we went straight to DZ. We went straight to Varsekwa and started teaching at the Gillingham Primary School without really, we had never done this before. So we were there for 4 months initially just to try to see, could we teach without reliable electricity? Could we teach without reliable internet? Would new computer users embrace these skills? Would the teachers, the school heads, the parents, would they support this initiative? And during those 4 months, it was just so clear there is unlimited demand for a tech education. Everybody, the Zimbabweans are learners, and everybody wants
definitely.
to learn, and they appreciate learning and education. So there was a lot of enthusiasm, and sadly, just not a lot of supply to be able to get access to free computers, access to the internet, access to the resources, the instruction, all of that for free. There weren't a lot of other alternatives in the communities that we were focused on. So after that trip, it became very clear to me, this is what I want to do. I don't know how we're going to do it, but this is it. My friend, he got a software engineering job. He was the real brains behind the organization. I was more of the passion Zimbabwe guy. He was the computer science guy. My wife was the photographer. She was a fashion photographer. So she made us look really big and good before we were.
Nice.
But I knew for sure this is where I belonged, and this is the type of work that I wanted to do. And it's been my full-time job ever since then. So that's, we went to start Uncommon at the end of 2017. We were in DZ when we get the call saying, don't panic. You should stop what you're doing and you should come home. The tanks have rolled, through the streets and something is happening. And then we were there to march in the streets or to celebrate with everybody else, which was a really special experience just to be out there during that time. So that was it, man. And here we are.
That's an amazing story. Starting at 18, that's very young for you to get up and go into a foreign country that you actually did not have anyone you knew to be, maybe related or actually friends and stuff like that. So that's an amazing start of an amazing journey. And I can tell how you have actually taken on Zimbabwe, because when you start saying Zim or DZ, it means you are part of those areas. You're part of Zim for real, because mostly Zimbabweans, they call it Zim. And, when you are local in Zimbabwe, they call DZ. So that shows me how much involved and how much settled you are in Zimbabwe. So what did you know about Africa before going? You were young, 18. What did you know about Africa at all, if any?
I really didn't know much at all. I probably knew about some of the big mountains and rivers and lakes. I probably knew about surfing in Cape Town, and Endless Summer was a surf movie that I loved, and they went to Africa and hit up different beaches around there. I think I was pretty naive, and fortunately, I think I was very open-minded, and I tried to be non-judgmental. I try to be open-minded. My family sort of raised us to be adventurous, and we were raised always to just treat everybody like humans, because that's all we are. So I don't think I had any real. I think I was just excited, and I didn't really do that much research. I remember my sister sending me this is 2011, so I don't quite remember what the status of the internet was like and what websites, but I think she sent me a Wikipedia page of Zimbabwe, and I think I looked it up, and it was mostly about hyperinflation at that point. That was the main headline news grabber, and I think I remember seeing on the Wikipedia page the city buildings, and I just think I was imagining more of a rural environment, to be honest. And I think that then I was like, okay, this is, I don't know. I really didn't do much research at all, man. Like I said, I arrived, all I had was the name and a phone number. I didn't have a picture of the person picking me up. So I didn't have much, but I just knew I wanted to go. And I always, from a very young age, always wanted to go, specifically because I think this guy came to my school, talked about basketball. He brought the little Coke can figurines, that kids make or that artisans make, turning a Coke can into a basketball player. And I just, from a young age, had in my mind Africa basketball, because that was what this organization was. And I just kind of fell in love with both of those ideas. So I didn't do much research, man. And I honestly, it's kind of, people that know me, I kind of wing things a lot. So it makes sense to me that I would have just
for the best. I think it's probably
Yeah.
for the best. At the time, I think it's probably the best because I think sometimes when you do research, you probably overwhelm yourself with maybe over researching, and then you start formulating these ideas in your mind, and then end up not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
it's amazing that you took that journey without much research, and you just decided that you're gonna go.
I remember when the coup happened, and then we went and like sort of walked in the streets with those millions of people, and I remember writing to my family about that experience, and and even maybe before I wrote to them like, oh, everything's fine, we're okay. I remember my mom just being like, oh, you're so lucky, I wish I was there. My parents, they never had any concerns about stuff, and just the other day, my sister she's actually in Zimbabwe right now with her family. She's there for the first time visiting.
You're recruiting
and they
the
were
whole
just
family to go back to Zimbabwe now.
We're trying, man. We're trying. But they had like that terrible weather in South Africa that you may have heard about recently.
Oh,
and
yeah, I did.
They were talking about sinkholes, and they were actually stuck. They were on safari, and they were the only guests there. They were stuck because everyone else had been evacuated. And I'm kind of worried about my sister. And my mom is just like, oh, man, what an adventure. Enjoy it. So I think that I was raised in a family that we didn't maybe do our research. We just kind of lived in the moment and tried to enjoy whatever life throws at us. And so far, we've been pretty fortunate to have really cool experiences.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So what is it about Zimbabwe? When you think about it, what is it about Zimbabwe that you like so much?
Man, I was thinking about that this morning. One of the first things that stuck out to me in Zimbabwe, and I can remember we were playing basketball at that court in DZ, and then, I don't know, I think I was saying I was thirsty, so I said to go walk to the shops and Tatenda will take you. And I just remember, like, we kind of do the basketball, like we sort of dap our hands, maybe in Zim, it's this thing. And then we just held hands for the entire time we were walking. And in the United States, like, it's not that normal yet to just be holding hands with like your guy friend, just to be holding hands, walking and talking. But in Zimbabwe, it's totally normal to see two Sakurus walking and laughing and holding, embracing, and that's just normal. And it's something I brought back with me. People at school thought I was a little funny because I would always hold on a little bit longer, but there's like, that experience was so powerful to me because you could just feel the longer you held on to somebody, the more connected you became to them, and the more sort of love, I think, flowed through you two. And that was a very visceral experience for me. And I love that. I love in Zimbabwe how there's so much small talk. I mean, sometimes when you're trying to get work done, it can be a little bit, things can take a while. But I love when you go to the till and you're waiting, and somebody else comes up and they stand right next to you, shoulder to shoulder, and they're waiting for the same thing. And then they just start chatting with you. And again, we've kind of lost a lot of that. I don't know if it's called brotherly love, or we just sort of lost that in our high-paced, fast-paced, high-speed world in the U.S. especially. That's what I can relate to. So I love that. I love just the patience, the connection, the human connection. I'm kind of worried, honestly, now that everyone's got smartphones and everyone's got internet. We're walking and looking down at our phones. I'm worried that that's starting to happen in Zim the same way it happened years ago in the U.S. and elsewhere. But those are things I love, man. I love people are just so nice and friendly. I kind of feel like, I almost feel like when I'm in Zimbabwe that I think everyone realizes that life is just kind of a game and we're all playing it together, and we're sort of like, everybody's kind of in on it. We all kind of know that there's rules and we can break the rules, or we can kind of, I don't know. I've only had great experience. I mean, I've had a couple not so great experiences, but even then they were great because underneath them was just love and humor. Zimbabweans have a great sense of humor. I don't know. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but those are things that I think about, and I'm excited. I'll be back in Zim in a couple of weeks. I can't wait to feel those feelings again.
I mean, I understand what you mean, but it's always interesting to hear it from someone's, I would say, let me say, an outsider perspective in terms of like, you're an American, you grew up in America, then you experience Zimbabwe at from age of 18. So wanted to understand how it is for you. How do you see it? So the other thing I'm interested about is the food. How was it for
Yeah.
you in terms of food?
Oh man,
Obviously,
no problem. I mean,
there's
what
a
do you think?
huge
You can
difference.
tell, man. I was just like all in on sadza from day one. My host, he was telling me like
Can you cook salsa now?
forks, not very well. Not my brother's obsessed with the idea. He wants to start a sadza joint in the U.S., but I have not really figured out how to cook it well. But I just remember too, my host, and we used to have dinner together every single night. We'd play basketball, have our beers, and then go back to the house and we'd have dinner late. And he was 20 or 30 years older than me, but he was like a big brother or uncle. And I remember him talking about why forks, he doesn't like to use forks because it's like stabbing your food. And it was so true. So I was like all in on sadza. I was all in on eating with my hands. My wife loves sadza. We love it when we go. So yeah, and man, a nice braai and boerewors and greens and everything is, we love it all. Avocado all the time, man. You guys in Zim don't realize how much of a luxury avocado is, man.
I
Big,
know.
giant avocados, too.
Oh, trust me. I was brought up on those things because when I was growing up, we had 2 trees in our yard of avocado, huge, massive avocado. So every day on breakfast, avocado, and sometimes lunch, on your bread, and you have avocado. Yeah, it's amazing.
And mango straight from the tree, man. And the pitted mango where you just kind of peel it back and eat it like a popsicle, man. It gets all stringy in your teeth and stuff, but it's still so good. No, I love the food. And I obviously my perspective is as a foreigner that is there on a short-term basis, that has family back in the U.S., that has a life here, and I know my perspective is different from other people's who maybe don't have the ability to come and go. So obviously, take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. I know I might sound like a totally naive foreigner that only sees the glass half full, but that's kind of how I approach everything in life. But I'm aware that my experience is different, very different from many people's experience in Zim.
Okay. So do you have any specific challenges that you faced? So if someone is thinking about, let's say, Zimbabwe, and they want to travel to Zimbabwe, is there anything specific that you would tell them to be mindful of, or things that you would advise them to really try and get involved in? Because sometimes when you travel, you probably let's say you want to travel to a different country for a holiday, you go to the holiday resorts and stuff like that, and you don't really immerse yourself in the actual culture of the country. Is there any specific thing you can advise?
Well, first of all, Zimbabwe is incredibly safe. So people should just know that. People that are traveling there should know that and feel like it's okay to walk in, through the CBD if you want. It's okay to ride combis. That was my main mode of transportation. Those 2 summers playing basketball, just combis, and I would take them with my colleagues, but I was trying to be a windy. That was like I was determined to be a windy, and they said, "Man, we could hook it up. We can get you a job." And just sort of bade, yelling all those names. I wanted to hang out of the car and do that. But I mean, if you're gonna go now, definitely. I traveled differently. I was raised. We weren't like. If we did vacation, it was not to go to a resort. It was always to try to immerse ourselves in the area. So I was lucky to have grown up that way. But that's how I would advise. Like, Airbnb is a cool thing because it's not a hotel. It doesn't have everything catered for you. You have to go and do your own grocery shopping. So I definitely like Airbnb for that reason, where it already puts you a little bit more into the real life of somebody. So I would recommend Airbnbs. In Zimbabwe has amazing homes. People have incredible Airbnbs and
trust me.
Yeah,
every time I go
neat.
back, I just feel wow. Some of the houses you see in Zimbabwe, you just think, my God.
I know. Obviously, you gotta come with USD, and the smaller the denomination, the better. You go to the bank and get as many ones as you can, because those are hard to come by. But yeah, I don't know. maybe because I was almost like plugged into the local life from day one. Like my whole experience in Zimbabwe was DZ within the first few hours of landing, and then every day in DZ and Glenview, Glenora, Mabuku, and all these neighborhoods. And then my work is all of that is sort of, I think, more grounded in reality. And when we started Uncommon, we didn't have any money. We weren't funded. We were just like volunteering. We were in the Honda Fit. We were like going, to the hubs every day, to the community. So I think I have maybe a different experience. I wish that there was an easy way for tourists to get like a very local experience. I don't know. I've never interacted with the Ministry of Tourism, but obviously Zimbabwean tourism is amazing. You've got Victoria Falls, you've got incredible safari all over the place. But I wish there was more accessible cultural stuff that also wasn't just like gimmicky, come and we'll give you a tour of Mbari or, stuff like that. It can be a little bit like there's got to be a way to give people a very authentic.
That's a good idea, actually. I
think Airbnb really tried to do it. Airbnb tried like experiences where your host will take you around. That's probably pretty cool. I don't know if anyone does it or not, but
never know. Might be something to look into. You never know.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's really good. So obviously you went. Now you've got two organizations that you are working with. You are one of the founders. Okay, let's start with Uncommon.
Yeah.
You are the founder of Uncommon. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So walk me through what is Uncommon and what is it for? Who is it for?
Yeah. So. We've come a long way, but as I was telling earlier, the genesis was just going to Zimbabwe with my friend and my future wife, reconnecting with my basketball buddies. And I had asked them, would you want to, I called them up. Do you have a job? No. You want to teach coding to kids? Not really sure what that means, but yes, that sounds interesting. And that was it. So we got our computers. We went to Zimbabwe. We had 4 months and we trained our friends to be instructors, and then we went to a couple primary schools and just started teaching coding to kids after school. And that was the original program, was we're going to train unemployed young adults to go and teach kids. So the young adults, they'd earn a small money. They're basically camp counselors or part-time instructors. So we pay them a little bit to go and teach the kids. And that worked out really well. But soon what we realized was that the young adults were like reaching a ceiling and their learning was stopping, and it was kind of not that fulfilling for them. They would just do whatever they did all day and then show up in the afternoon and teach kids in the afternoon. So what we decided was, let's make the experience about them. Let's make our focus the unemployed young adults, training them for the technology workforce. But we don't want to lose out on all the kids that we've been working with. So here's what we'll do. In exchange for a laptop, 12 months of free tech education, internet, electricity access, support with getting a job afterwards. In exchange for that, you have to go and teach kids after school. You're a volunteer instructor. So that's still the way our model is today. The young adults in our boot camp program, they come to us, they get everything for free, all the training and support. And they come to us in the mornings, and then in the afternoons, they go to the nearby government schools, they take their laptops, they go to the schools, and they provide free computer lessons after school. And that allows us to reach a lot of young people, but it also is a great way for the young adults that we're working with to build up their self-esteem, their self-confidence. I mean, they were going from unemployed, sitting on the stoop, not doing anything, to now learning a lot and teaching a lot and working at schools alongside teachers and heads and bringing technology where there isn't much technology. So it's really a transformative experience. But so our work at Uncommon is just that. On one hand, we're training unemployed young adults for the tech workforce. That's one program. The next program is teaching computer coding to kids. And that's just getting as many young kids as possible exposure to computers and learning how to build computer games. And then we have a third program, which is training teachers. So now we're working with the ministries and we're training teachers and empowering teachers to bring technology into their classrooms. Those are the three core programs. Soon we're launching a fourth, which is actually going to be an incubator where we are training people how to build technology startups and supporting them in their startup journey. So that'll be super exciting. The actual like medium which we use, we build physical spaces. We call them innovation hubs. So that's sort of really step one. When we find a community that we want to work with, we find a partner, usually a government school or another nonprofit in the area, and we build an innovation hub. That's a solar-powered old shipping container converted into a really cool modern co-workspace and classroom. And the original ones were like one container, pretty straightforward. There's only so much you can do with one. The one we're building right now is 4 containers, 2 containers this way, stacked going that way, a big roof, there's stairs. There's like, they're getting really kind of cool and funky. And our goal with the physical spaces was to just create beautiful, inspiring workspaces in your neighborhood, in DZ, in Kwadzana, in Fakuse, in Warren Park, everywhere that we operate. We don't want, our goal as an organization is not to extract talent. We don't want to come to your neighborhood and take all the young people out and bring them into the CBD or bring them into Borrowdale and train them there. We want to invest in your neighborhood, and we want to do it prominently. So you see that we are here. When you put that infrastructure there, you're not going anywhere. Like, so this is our commitment. We are here, man. And we're here to train the young people that are not working. They're going to teach the kids, and now we're teaching the teachers, and hopefully soon we can work with Gogo and Sakuru and do some classes for the pensioners. But ultimately, it's a community by community organization. Our goal, our instructors, our former students, it's about community and empowerment. It's about everybody getting access to these tools and skills that are changing the world. I mean, you and I, we're only chatting because we have access to computers, internet, electricity. We've learned how to use them. I mean, what would our careers be like if we didn't have these tools? And a lot of our students have never touched a computer or never owned a computer, or had never been taught how to use them effectively. So it's life-changing. It's like really important.
It's I think the amazing thing about your model is you are based in areas where you are really needed, in the high density suburbs where there are more kind of deprived families, people, and
we're going rural adults too.
And that's amazing, because I grew up in Zimbabwe, in Chitungwiza, and I went to school and everything, but I did not see a laptop or a computer, a desktop, until I think I was about 18, when I visited a friend of mine who was in the lower density suburbs. I think he was in Waterfalls or somewhere like that. And if I tell you the story that it came on because he was asleep, then I think I moved the mouse and it came on, and there was the screen had a tiger on it, a tiger on it, and when it came on, it came alive. It made a sound that I actually ran away from it. I panicked and I ran away from it. I was like, "Whoa, what's this?"
Yeah.
So that's how. The reason I'm sharing that story is because I'm highlighting how important it is in terms of your locations that you are choosing to base your centers in. That's where the need is. So how many centers have you got so far in Zimbabwe?
This year, if all goes well with construction, we'll have 13 locations. So we have, we've operational right now, we have 6 in Harare. We're the 4 container space I was talking about, that's in Chitungwiza. Actually, I thought about you. I forgot. I wanted to tag you in the post because I just shared a cool video about the construction process, but that'll be in your neighborhood.
Please send it.
So that'll be 7 in Harare. Then we've got 1 in Bulawayo. We're currently building our 2nd in Bulawayo also. That's 9. We've got 1 in Victoria Falls. And then we've also partnered with another organization just outside of Victoria Falls, so 2 there, and then a 3rd in Gwai, which is our first super rural hub.
Area.
I mean, when we were building the space, construction was paused because elephants were hanging out and lions had gone through the area. So this is pretty rural. I mean, it's right along the road. If you've driven from Bulawayo to Vic Falls, now you can't miss
Yeah.
seeing our hub on the side of the road, which is pretty cool. And then we're also expanding into Gokwe in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and the UNDP. And that goal, ideally, if this goes well, then they've got all these vocational training centers that they want to revitalize. And we're hoping to be a partner of theirs to help them turn those VTCs into really modern innovation hubs and to start bringing technology training into those communities through the ministry. So that's something that we're excited about. But we should have 13 operational. We've got 10 operational right now, and the next few are going live in the next couple of months. So we had over 20,000 kids in the youth coding program last year. We've had 200 young adults in the full-time, basically school, 5 days a week, 12 months, 4 weeks a month, 12 months. And this year there'll be over 300 young adults in the boot camp. So it's definitely, we're starting to grow. I mean, we built our first base in 2019. So it's been 7 years or however long that is, but we're starting to pick up a lot of momentum, which is really exciting.
Yeah, no, that is really good. You're really venturing into areas that, like if you're talking about Gokwe, those are areas that even most of the Zimbabweans have not been to this area. We know that there's Gokwe. I've been to Gokwe when I was really young, but most people would not have ventured to those areas. But for you to have a hub there where you're teaching young kids about technologies, that's really, really is amazing. So what's the age range like?
So the boot camp, to join the boot camp, roughly speaking, is 18 to 28. We really can't go much younger. It depends. Like if you're going to turn 18 at some point soon, maybe we'll make an exception. But really it's 18. And then we'll accept people a little bit over the 28, 30, 31, 32 on a case-by-case basis. But the large majority of people are like 18, 19, 20, 21. A majority of our demographic, I think, I was just looking at the stats today, I think it's like 70% didn't make it past O-level. O-level is the highest level of education. And almost always it's because of a lack of financial resources to carry on. It's not necessarily that they failed or it's usually the lack of financial resources. The next largest group is folks that have done A-level but couldn't matriculate onwards. And then a very small, I think this year it's like 6 out of 300 did go to university but are unemployed. So like if we're speaking broadly about our demographic, it's young 20s and unemployed because it's a full-time program. You can't have a job. You have to be able to commit. That's why it's entirely free. And we know even when it's free, some people that's unaffordable. Like some people just have to work. They have to support their family. They can't do this. So we have we can help on a case-by-case basis in those instances. But we have no prerequisites. So it doesn't matter what your highest level of academics is. It doesn't matter what your prior exposure level is to technology. You have to be able to make the commitment. And during the interview and application process, you have to demonstrate some level of like work ethic or determination or passion. Why do you want to be here? What are you trying to achieve with your life? And that's, kind of the types of questions that we'll ask people. But it's a pretty open program. I mean, our issue right now, we had over 750 applicants for like 250 spots. So we're kind of constrained, but it's expensive to build infrastructure and to buy computers. When you graduate from Uncommon, you keep your laptop. So every year we have to buy laptops, and this year it's 300 laptops. Next year it'll be 400, and that's not cheap, man. And building these spaces and in-person instructors, we're paying lots of salaries. We have, I think, 65 people will be on our team this year. So it's I can't believe it, man. When we first started, nobody was getting paid. We were all volunteers. We just walked around the neighborhood and taught lessons. And now it's kind of a growing staff and lots of young people that we're working with. So it's come a long way.
Okay. So has communication in terms of language been a problem at all during your...
it's interesting. In Harare, mostly no. There's definitely English obviously, most Zimbabweans speak pretty good English, but not all. And certainly some of our students, it can be a hindrance if English is not, if your English is not great, it can make it a little bit harder. When we went to Bulawayo, that was a big concern people had. Everyone was telling us like, oh, Shona and Ndebele, it's going to be rough, man. But honestly, like we had, I love Bulawayo, and we had such a great time expanding there with great partners. And the students are amazing. The alumni, when I go back to Bulawayo, we try to get together and we go out to, the barbecue joint over there and hang out and just catch up. And the alumni are amazing from Uncommon there. But we did have a little bit of a language barrier in Bulawayo. And then when we went to Victoria Falls, even more so. So we had to initially bring our Bulawayo instructors to Victoria Falls who could speak Ndebele and Shona and English. The idea for all of our hubs is that within a year, at most within 2 years, they're locally run. So that it's just graduates that are running the space. So then language becomes less of an issue. I know in Victoria Falls now, we have a very rural partnership about 30 kilometers outside of the main town, like down a dusty road, pretty far out, with an amazing partner, the Chifuta Foundation. Through our partnership with them, they're hosting us, facilitating us. We're bringing the instructors, the computers, and the training. But they actually just are now providing English language tutoring to the students, which has made a huge difference. So there, it is an issue. In Gwai, I imagine it's a bit of an issue, though our Gwai instructors are from Gwai, which is so cool. I mean, that was a question. Like, how do you... We're going to build this hub in Gwai, which is pretty far out, pretty rural.
Yeah.
How do we do that? Do we don't expect to be able to hire anybody. I think there's 500 people living in that proper village there, like that area. We're not going to hire a software developer from there. So how do we solve that problem? And I was nervous of, are we going to get our Harare kids or Bulawayo? Are the city kids really going to go move to Gwai for a year or two? I mean, there's not all that much going on. I think it's meditative and it's beautiful and it's great, but it's different. So I was worried about that. So the way we solved that, which is really cool, was we had a few young people from Gwai come to Victoria Falls for a year, live in Victoria Falls, and go through our program. One who became the valedictorian of our program, she was the top software engineer out of the whole group. And then we hired them to go back to Gwai and to help us launch the hub there. So I think language is not an issue in Gwai, I don't think, because our instructors, 3 out of the 4 are very well versed. So that's just sort of, I mean, it's not quite an answer to your question, but it's kind of insights for how we're trying to think about how to do this as locally led as possible. That's like really is the goal, that these are by the community, for the community, and that it's not like outsiders coming in. I am the only outsider, but most of my job is to try to raise the money to support the team. All the real decisions and the real work is happening by people that really live there, which I think is important.
And I can imagine with that strategy, the uptake would tend to be easier because people can see their own doing these programs, coming back and actually starting to teach people, and then now they're employed, they are teaching other people, so you can actually see the benefits of getting that kind of education.
Yeah, and our instructor roles, it should be a 1 year or 2 year job. This is your entry level first job. Really, we need you to go out and work for Econet and work for Google, and that's like the best inspiration. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that it's you have to, when working with young people, we just have to give them a path that is just one step up the ladder. You don't need to go from living in Gwai to working at Econet. You need to go from living in Gwai to joining the hub, to becoming an instructor, to then getting the entry-level job elsewhere, and then going there. And that's like, that path is doable and it makes sense. So you're right it's very helpful when community members see their own who are gainfully employed, who have tons of knowledge, who can solve all of the problems when it comes to technology, and now who are sharing that knowledge. It's really important. And that was always
no.
like the spirit of Uncommon was always about community. You know, you're going to come and learn, but you're going to teach as well. It's never just about you. It's always about our pillars are education, technology, and purpose. So what is the purpose behind you and behind what you're doing and what you're learning? Why are you here? Why are you doing it? And if it's not to make your community better, your family better, your country better, or the world better, then it's not really that, it's not worthwhile in our opinion.
No. Yeah, that's really good, because obviously the reason I kind of started this podcast is to try and share information, advice, and guidance, but in terms of like how we can grow in Africa in different aspects of life, really, education, work life, and things like just simple life, understanding and learning from other people, either foreigners coming into the country or into the continent, learning from that, and then implementing those things on our own. And you are facilitating exactly that. You come with knowledge, you teach people, and those people are going out there and continuing that work that you started, which is that is amazing. That's enabling people to and empowering people to live their own life, take ownership of their lives, and carry on without depending on you, dependence on handouts from other people. So that's amazing, man.
And it's like goes all the way up the organizational chain. So we have a great country director, we have a great leadership team, and we have a local board of trustees. There's two entities. There's this U.S. entity, which sort of is just me and a couple part-time folks, and and a board, and we're trying to raise money and support strategy. But Zimbabwe is run by the Zimbabwean team. They come up with the plan, they create the budget, they execute the strategy. So I can't really claim to take much credit at all for the success of what's happening on the ground. I used to live in Zimbabwe. I used to teach every day. I was quite involved early on, but now it's the team. It really is a team effort, and we have a great team on the ground.
Oh, that's amazing, man. So one thing on Uncommon, I wanted to ask, the name Uncommon. What's the thinking behind it?
Yeah. Okay, there's kind of a longer story, and then there's an abbreviated version. But actually, when we started, we were called Sprout Coding. That was our first name. And Sprout was an acronym. It stood for Science, Programming, and Uncommon Technologies. And the original thought was that it wouldn't just be coding that we were teaching. It'd be robotics, it'd be physics, it'd be like all sorts of sciencey stuff, which is kind of ridiculous because I am not a technologist at all. Like, I am not a nerd, and I don't know any of those things. So I'm the least tech savvy person in our whole organization. But that was the idea. And then as sort of what our organization actually was became more clear, the name felt wrong. Sprout Coding, that sounded very much like a child's organization, a youth organization. And I always loved the word uncommon. When we'd had science, programming, technology, what is a U? And that U word, uncommon, it's a beautiful word. It looks nice, it sounds nice, it's spells nice. And what it means is really nice, to be uncommon. That's like really powerful. And when you think about our students, they are the ones that are the uncommon ones amongst their peers. They are no longer on the stoop. They decided, I want to change my trajectory. I want to change my path, and I'm going to invest in myself, bet on myself. And early on, people thought they were like crazy to join us and to give us all their time. Their parents had no idea what they were doing every day, coming to this container and sitting in, on computers. Like, it really wasn't obvious that this would lead to good outcomes. So I think part of the meaning is just choosing that uncommon path, being uncommon, striving to walk the road less traveled. I think that's important. We haven't really executed this, but as an organization, one of my dreams always was that we could run our nonprofit like a business, that we could be financially sustainable. I've always believed that we are teaching tech skills. People are monetizing the skills we're teaching. People are hiring our staff and making money. People are, we should be able to capture some of that revenue And I do believe we haven't figured it out yet, and we've tried and failed and tried and failed. But I do believe there is a world in which Uncommon has a bunch of different businesses. We're building software for people that pay us. We are charging a recruitment fee for companies that hire from us. We are running paid workshops and courses and classes. And I think there's a way in which we can do all of those things as a nonprofit. So our differentiator, when you can go to this company for an AI skills training or Uncommon, what makes us different, it's the same price, it's the same quality, but one enriches shareholders, the other means more free tech lessons for more kids from low-income neighborhoods. That's Uncommon. So I always I've still held out for that vision that our business model could be Uncommon, that's how we could really live up to our name, is that we can fund ourselves through the work that we're doing. I thought that would be cool. But we are nowhere near there. We're like 99% philanthropy supported and maybe 1% earned income, but we're working on it.
Yeah, well, you're growing. You know, it will come. I believe it will come, because if you look at where you came from, how you started and where you are now, it sounds like there's been a lot of growth. So it can only keep going, and it can only keep growing. So yeah, and I like the name as by the way. I really like it as well, because it really fits in with what you are doing, and like you pointed out, the road less traveled. And things like that. That's just amazing thinking around
just
it. So,
you go to DZ or you go to Chitanguiza and you see our hubs. There's no burglar bars. We have never installed a single burglar bar. In fact, we just have big glass windows and glass doors. And our goal is always to do things differently. And we believe when the community knows that you're here for them, the community will look out for you. And that's what we've experienced, man. And environment matters too. You have to, if you want to learn, if you want to be creative, if you want to be inspired, you need an environment that does all those things for you. And I get the utility of the burglar bar, but in terms of wanting our young people to get there and feel like the world is limitless, you can't have them literally contained inside of a space
behind bars and all that.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. That's really, really is amazing. And okay, cool. So if there is someone listening now and they want to support Uncommon, whether they're in Zimbabwe or whether they're around the world, what's the process? What do they do?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say the best thing someone can do is donate, but the reality is we're a small organization in the grand scheme of things. This is the first year we've ever had fundraising support, and even then it's very small consultants. But for the last 8 years, this has been my role as the fundraising. We are not a lot of NGOs start with all the money, and then they say, here's $100 million. We kind of want to solve this problem. You figure out how to do it, hire whatever you want, get the fancy cars. We were the opposite, and we're still the opposite. So we do rely on the generosity of people from all over the world, and it's as little as $5, but so every dollar makes a huge difference. And you could just go on to our website, uncommon.org, and make a donation there. Other ways to get involved, well, following us on social media, sharing, the power of just sharing and liking and engaging and commenting, it's really amazing. These social networks are awesome. Our biggest supporters have found us, which is crazy. They've usually on our website, if someone leaves a message, it's a spam message about toenail clippers or something. And we've gotten amazing messages from our biggest partners. Hey, learned about your work. Would love to get in touch with your philanthropy team to discuss a grant. And that's amazing. And that only happens because people are sharing our work. So that means a lot. It also means a lot to our students when you engage with their content. They're getting very active on LinkedIn. If you see an Uncommon person post, just throw them some love. That means a lot. We do have a mentorship program. So we try to match every one of our students with a mentor. It could be in person, it could be remote. So if you're interested in mentoring a student, that also is a great way to get involved. And that's pretty low lift. The baseline is 6 months, 2 30-minute sessions a month. So it's 6 hours total. It's not a lot, but ideally you form a relationship and then you want to get more involved and help out with somebody. And it's usually, we used to be very career or like industry focused, but now it's a bit more agnostic. And it's just like having a professional, someone that's a little bit further in their career that can just bounce ideas off and help you. So it's pretty open. If you're a poet or if you're whatever, but you want to help, can be a fun way to get involved. And now that there's Starlink, it's not an absolute pain to do virtual remote calls. So those are ways to help. Finding like what your company does. If you work for a company, a lot of them have philanthropy, goals, their agendas, and just checking in with your team to see what is our CSR, what's our corporate social responsibility. Maybe could we support this? Could we build an innovation hub, or could we buy computers for a group of students? Those are it's really amazing what companies around the world are doing. And what I've learned is like, me asking a company to support us almost never works. You asking your own company to support this organization that you care about really does work. So that's also very helpful. I think that's probably like the big ways: become a mentor, share our content, follow our socials, make a donation, support our students. Those are the obvious ways to get involved, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. No, that is very good. So what I'll do is, I'll put some your contact details, your website, and how to contact in the description box below, so that whoever wants to be part of this, either mentorship, whatever donations, whatever time you can give to the organization, then you'll be able to reach out. So that is amazing. I'm really, really interested in the work that you do, and I appreciate your time and your efforts that you are giving, because I know I was one of those young kids that you're working with. So it's personal to me. I can feel it, and I know that if you were there at the time I was growing up, it would have made a huge difference to me, and it would have made a huge difference to a lot of kids that I grew up with. Like I said, I didn't know anything about computers until I was about 18 and stuff like that, and then I actually started learning. I self-taught myself. Like I taught myself computers when I think I was then maybe 21. That's when I actually started. So it's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity that you're giving those young kids. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everyone that you're working with.